Hey all you multi-mamas, I'm moving along in my beer of Vermont that's hoppy and I need to review while it's still really good. And I've got the Alchemist's Focal Banger, their only somewhat regularly available single IPA, and also their only IPA where they disclose the specific hop varieties, which are Citra and Mosaic. And I'm pretty sure they don't use too much Citra and Mosaic in their other beers, because those are ones that come from times before there was much Citra to use. And I think I saw that they've been brewing something called Focal Bangers since 2011, though I'm sure in 2011 didn't have Mosaic on it, or in it, because Mosaic wasn't commercially available. Though this one they advertise as a just Citra and Mosaic beer, and they use their favorite British malts too. And so I don't know if there's any crossover between Heady Topper and the malts they use and the hops that are in this or anything. But I definitely can tell that they are focusing on the tropical, juicy quality from these hops, whereas they don't do that quite as much on their other beers. Heady Topper is more of a dank orange juice sort of experience, but this one, when I've had it, was very, very, very pineapple-y. And this can was probably canned about 2 weeks ago. I was there less than 2 weeks ago, and down to my last few cans, and this is the only one I have not reviewed on here. So let's give it a go. It's been in the fridge for the whole 2 weeks, so I'm sure it's still immaculately fresh and perfect, and it's looking beautiful. I slightly rolled it around my hand just to make sure that we've got all the yeast and everything in this beer, so I don't have to wait and pour the bottom of it and get a lot more aroma, like I've noticed with some unfiltered IPAs. And I'm smelling it already, and it smells very different from Heady Topper. But I'm sure they use the same ale yeast. It looks a little bit similar. It has that really fine haze with no chunks, but not quite as turbid and grainy as Trillium and Bissell Brothers, but firmly hazy. It's almost a sort of a golden, but I can still sort of see my finger through it. Ooh yeah, that is the fresh, juicy hallmark of Citra and Mosaic hops right there. Oh, so much pineapple. Pineapple's the main flavor. Pineapple and peach. And then maybe some spicy mango and passion fruit are in there too. But yeah, it's a big, really, really tropical aroma. And it's not too green, whereas that's what I noticed with their other beers, is that they got plenty of the resinous green quality from the hops and the aroma, but this one it smells like, some kind of pineapple candy. And like sweet pineapple nectar, like I'm about to actually drink one of those cans of Dole pineapple juice. I bet when I taste it I'll get more spicy green notes, but yeah, with Citra and Mosaic sometimes I notice some garlicky, scalliony, almost smoky herbaceous qualities. But I'm not really getting it in the aroma of this. It's just like so much peach and pineapple juice in my face, and it smells really good. Whew. There's that candyish, yeasty malt flavor that I notice in all of the Alchemist IPAs. A firm, almost toasty British malt that I'm noticing, edging on having that light straw flavor that I notice from British malts. I mean, I guess maybe biscuity is a better term, but it mixes pretty well to add some complexity to those super fruity hops. Yeah, now I'm noticing that slight British malt aroma. Yeah, that's really nice. It reminds me of sort of how Notch, the New England session beer brewer, does a lot of Citra and Mosaic low alcohol pale ales with lots of good British malts. And they combine really surprisingly well, even though Citra and Mosaic are really different from British hops. but there's a firm bitterness in there. And yeah, on the tongue, it's spicy, herbal. Maybe I'm starting to get just a little bit of some kind of arugula greenness. I feel like when I had this last week, it seemed more green oniony, scallion sort of flavory things happening. Now I'm noticing the malt a touch more, but I mean it's not even 2 weeks old, and the fruity hops are still, you know, king of this beer. Mm. Yeah, and the way they ferment these beers with their yeast seems like it always makes a candyish, slightly sweet, somewhat full-bodied thing that adds a lot to the really, really fruity, juicy hops. Yeah, it's really herbaceous and has a lot of tea-like woodiness happening at the same time. It's very nice, but it's quite bitter. I believe this one is more bitter than Heady Topper. There is, yeah, definitely a firm malt with a little bit of sweetness and yeasty, fruity, cotton candy almost thing happening. That also blends really well with the soft, fruity, juicy fruit quality from the hops. But I'm not getting like intense smoky garlic like I often do from big Citra Mosaic IPAs. Maybe there's a light berry flavor that sometimes I get from Mosaic because of their really candy-ish yeast flavors that are coming out. There are definitely some esters from the yeast in here, and that's probably why a lot of people like these beers, because it's not everything stepping aside for the hops. There is still actually some malt and yeast that's working, but it's really just working to underpin the hops. But I get this fresh hop pellet sensation throughout my palate and my whole face, just like with any of these Alchemist beers. And it's quite bitter. That makes it an intense experience, and that's, you know, kind of what you need to have a beer that's going to be, you know, among the highest rated, most highly sought after in the world. That's just their style, but they know how to combine that with yeast and hop flavors that people like, and I think it's what makes their beers really special. And especially because they're only doing IPAs for the most part. I think maybe they came out with a stout briefly that was available last winter or something. Well, this is how they can get everyone from all over the world wanting their beers, if they've really mastered this recipe in Heady Topper. So I'm going to do probably like a 9. But one thing I just realized is that, I don't know, maybe it's the British malts and the yeastiness, but there might be a hint of diacetyl in this beer. But I feel like I didn't notice in my other can, so I'll have to confer with my girlfriend and try another can. So this review might be a little tainted. This is a really good beer, but it seems different from what I had it last. It's really good. Maybe I'll abstain from rating it. Quite bitter, but yeah, maybe there might be just a hint of the diacetyl in there, which is making me notice the British malt and yeast more, perhaps, in this beer. I'll have to come back and revisit this after having the other can. Maybe I'll put it in the about section of this video, say what it was like on the second try, or I'll just redo a whole nother video. It's pretty good, probably up there on the 90 scale. I used to think it was my favorite one, but I don't know, Heady Topper might be my favorite, and I would be surprised if lots of other people notice diacetyl, if like Alchemist released some really buttery beer. We'll return to that. For now, I'll abstain. from reviewing it and giving it a rating. So, bye-bye.